I know. Welcome back to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue, our main man, is on the ones and two. Wicka, 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 wow. Sorry, I figured I'd start it off in a fun way and stuff. Hey, listen, the Convo Couch is about fun here, you know. It's about good times.
Pasta's about fun.
I am
the serious one.
Yeah, there's my dolphin there. See, Fam's laughing at the dolphin. She always laughs
I'm really
at the
not
dolphin.
that serious though. Outside of the Convo Couch, but you guys don't know that, so.
All right, so let's get some people in here. Thank you so much. I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gone to our Rockfin yet, please do it. ROKFIN. There'll be some news coming about our Rockfin, and maybe we're going to do a little something with that Rockfin when it comes to debate night. So we want to talk about that, you know, a little leakage. You know you want to watch the debates and you don't want to watch mainstream media and these corporate coverage. And during the breaks, the commercials, and you want some really good words going on. There's our stuff. While the debate's going on, Dave Meisel, Jesus Zamora, or Jesus Zamora, Michael Cruz, we love you, Michael Cruz. Hey, Patreon, we love you, buddy. He writes books. We'll get your shirt, I promise you. He says, hi to Pasta Fee and Jonny Sue. Let me tell you something, Michael Cruz. We've been diving into MMT, right? Johnny, tell these people we've been doing our homework on MMT. We've been doing our homework on MMT. You need to be doing your homework on MMT. We have to understand how our monetary system, money works, because people praise money. I still talk to my mom, and she thinks this money is worth something. No, it's just numbers on a paper. And how money is created every year, how money is destroyed by the IRS and stuff like that. We asked a lot of public banking people about MMA. Some MMT, sorry. Well, we asked about MMA on the Rockfin.
Did you ask about MMA? Okay.
We asked them about MMT. Some knew, some didn't. But I think it's very important to understand MMT. Jonny Sue, you got something to say?
Yeah, I would like to interview Stephanie Calton.
Yeah, she'd be great. We should reach out.
I think Michael put her on the list.
A couple questions.
Yeah, Michael put her on the list. She's one of the best, and what she did on that Jimmy Dore show was awesome. So I think hopefully we'll get out there and get her. We have 56 people watching now.
We're not on the MCSC network.
We're not on the MCSC network.
We are not, because Nico got a copyright strike, and so now we are not allowed to live stream on
That's
there.
Ridiculous.
Bullshit.
YouTube is really screwing with us.
They're screwing with a lot of progressives.
With a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean,
Graham's channel, our channel, Nico's channel, everybody.
All the numbers are pretty much frozen and seized. They go backwards now. The numbers are going backwards. We actually broke 26,000, and now we're at 28,000. 25,800 and change. So they're going backwards on us, and that was after a lot of videos with a lot of great coverage. We've been consistently having a ton of people on our live streams, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. But unfortunately, YouTube is not awesome. But
how long is he banned for? Jeff says we don't know yet. Sorry, Johnny.
I think it's like a 90-day ban.
Well,
what?
He can also protest it.
Yeah, he can protest. I don't know, but it's.
We haven't got the details.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And like another problem we've been having with YouTube that they still haven't fixed, and it's been like 4 or 5 days now, is that our live chat replay, our beautiful chats from Michael Cruz and all our great fams, and
they're not showing up.
They don't show up
when
after the live stream gets reposted, after the live stream is done, and that happened ever since our interview with Google whistleblower Zach Voorhees.
Wow.
Fam, I'm sorry.
Meanwhile, every other live stream before that, the chat replay works.
Wow.
I'm sorry, fam. That's my fault. I wanted to get this Google whistleblower on because I wanted to show what he was doing, and ever since then, they turned the faucet.
Yeah.
And I say bad regulation is better than no regulation at all at this point. Whatnot. They're operating like it's the wild, wild west. They're suppressing our voice. They're blacklisting us, plain and simple. Because, you know, when we talk about this with other progressive commentators who are having the same thing happen to them, it's not just coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's for real. So we need you to get out there, share this link. Let's get the word out. Let's keep talking. Let's keep on talking about the issues that are important to us and spreading the real, true progressive word, because they're going to try to suppress us right now. They're all owned by these Democratic loyalists.
Yep.
But you know what? Let's work through it. Free thinker, 59 says, I love you guys, the Convo Couch. By the way, we love you too, free thinker. We love free thinkers.
All love and peace.
We do.
Get over to our Rockfin, ROKFIN. We got about 70 people coming in. We'll probably have 100 in no time. So let's just jump to it, fam, because we have Ecuador Unrest, where I'm as mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. That's what the people are saying. And here is some footage 5 months back. I think we should have paid attention to this more. Remember when Julian Assange was taken out of the Ecuadorian embassy in England, in Britain, Great Britain? Well, the people of Ecuador were protesting in their own country.
Yep.
They have way more people protesting than we do out here. Take a look. This is some Rupley footage. Put the volume up because I want Fam and you guys to translate.
Pressa means hurry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know that.
No, not. I didn't want you to verify that one if you're eligible.
The lady coming up.
Anonymous. What you said?
They're
there,
saying
Fran?
he's a traitor.
Yeah.
And he's working with the United States.
Yeah. See, once again, that was the thing. First of all, I thought you were saying, "What's up, Pasta? I love you on the combo couch. Here's my Twitter information," and I was wrong. What she was really talking about was Moreno, and this is when it happened, fam, because they were like out with Moreno, and this was the same. We said this the other day. The people of South Central America, they understand that the United States is pulling the strings. And this was the first point of it right here. This was the first, boom, we should have started paying attention. They wanted Moreno out of there. They were saying this was the new government, and we all knew that it was the new government that handed over Julian Assange to America.
So that was in April, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just let it be known that with the new person that was put in is when Julian Assange got handed over. Before that, the president was very supportive, as we're going to be seeing.
Yes.
In these next few clips.
Yes, and this is the more of the out with Moreno. Here's another clip right here. It's the second clip we have. It's not really they have some stuff down below. They have some more clips, but it really just talks about it right there. Yeah.
Wow.
His name is Lenin Moreno, and they're saying you're a hypocrite and a traitor.
Wow.
Our people reject you.
What did
Yeah,
they say?
Lenin Moreno, you are a hypocrite and a traitor. The people reject you in all of Ecuador.
Yeah,
that's exactly
what it
what
was.
they're saying.
Because
Oh my
they
gosh.
see it. They saw
That's
it was
awesome.
They
That's
saw
fucking
it.
awesome.
It's like, here's the new government. The new government wants to be, once again, the puppet of the United States. They're handing over Assange when Rafael Correa, who was the president before him, and once again, they have a leftist president before Moreno, who just took over in 2017. And I put up an article real quick, and it just talks about Rafael Correa. And you can go look at up this guy. You know, there was... he's a left-wing success story, they say. We don't have to go over the article, but if you look it up, Rafael Correa was the one who held Julian Assange, granted him asylum, let him stay there for almost 7 years, and once again, the people understood what was going on. Now, they had their own problems, too, as well, fam, with some of the social programs. Once again, just because you're a socialist, it doesn't mean everything's going to work out. We're still working in a capitalist system, so the investments of the country are going to come into play. I think Maduro has made some bad choices when it comes to the investments, and he put all his eggs in one basket. And I'm sure there's some questions and there's some criticisms from Korea that he might have not made the best decisions. But once again, he was still this whole mentality of giving money to the people, to the worker, to the indigenous people. You know what I'm saying? Lifting men up and, making sure that rich people in your country pay their fair taxes.
And that's the problem, is that there is like a separate divide between the people who are the capitalist class who want that sort of United States to take over versus the people who don't want that. And the countries that are cooperating are always on the good side of the United States. That's why you see that the United States doesn't really like Bolivia, because Evo Morales is a very leftist president. And we're seeing, you know, the issues with now Mexico having AMLO there as president. And then, you know, how we helped oust Lula and in Brazil. And all of these things that are happening aren't a coincidence. And they're all connected in specifically not just the United States, but also Great Britain and our Western allies.
Yeah, the thing that really stinks too, fam, is that the left is getting represented by the neoliberals. Like, they're saying that that's the left. You know what I'm saying? So now here comes all these right-wing governments come in because they're so sick and tired of it. Like, you know, when I have some discussions with my friends back in Florida who are very conservative and whatnot, they kind of lump us all the left into one basket, and I hate it.
And I hate that.
And it was kind of like, you know, it's like we are getting punished for not recognizing that the Tea Party was different than the establishment right. We all put them in one big basket for certain issues, and I think they're doing the same thing. Because now it's like we talk about, it's on the periphery. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was watching something on Ukraine with Glenn Beck. Now, I don't like Glenn Beck. I'm not a big fan. But when it comes to him covering Epstein, when it comes to him covering Ukraine, he was pretty damn good. So there are some issues right now. But once again, it's that whole smear. Smear the right, smear the left. Right. They're just all in one basket. There's nothing nuanced about it. We're the same as Hillary Clinton, and that's not just the truth.
They equate the left completely to all liberals. That's the thing. We're not liberals. Like, a lot of us aren't liberals. I'm definitely not. And I think it's also the left that does that. Like Pasta was saying, you can't even bring up someone like Glenn Beck without people being like, you're a right winger. You're spreading right wing propaganda. Even when Bernie was interviewed by what's his name? Why am I blanking?
When he was interviewed by
why am I blanking? I don't, you know, the freaking the independent guy.
Joe Rogan?
Yeah. I don't know why I was blanking on his name.
The independent guy.
Well, but they were saying that he was the gateway to the alt-right. A lot of people, not just centrists, but some Bernie supporters who are very uncomfortable with Bernie reaching across the aisle when Bernie has always been the one reaching across the aisle too. That's one of the things Bernie 2016 was the thing. He was like, we need to talk to everybody. Not everybody's a racist. And even some of his supporters were like, you can't say that. That's not true. We hate like every Republican. And that's not how we progress. That's not how we move forward. And I think that's again why a candidate like Tulsi Gabbard is coming up on the polls, because you're seeing how people are sick of that whole tribalism. Yeah.
And that's why I said Elizabeth Warren, when she said, I'm not going to go on Fox, that was like, oh my God. That was even disgusting for me. It's like, what are you talking about? If you're representing my values, I want you going to talk to the other side. I want to come to some common ground. All this tribalism fighting left and right, it's just going to be awful. And the reason why Moreno is getting so much flack in his own country, it's because of the austerity measures right now. Johnny, you got that article real quick? It just talks about Moreno, and it says Moreno calls for austerity measures in his first economic report to the nation. Once again, putting the debt of the country on the backs of the poor people. You know what I'm saying? Of the middle class they have. And, you know, you'll see a lot of these people protesting in the streets as they let the rich do whatever they want and they put it on us. Same thing happening right here. Neoliberalism doesn't work. The final straw for Moreno was the gas subsidy, right? So now they have this big gas subsidy, and you're talking about the whole economy. All these poor people trying to get to where they got to go, and the gas subsidy was it. That was the final straw. You can see on the BBC.com World Latin News America, right there we have, John, that next article. That's it. State of emergency. State of emergency. And I believe I have one video. There's another site. Well, who do you think, fam, that Moreno's going to blame? He is now blaming his successor, you know, Correa, who we talked about. He's blaming Correa and Maduro for throwing a coup.
His predecessor,
sorry. His predecessor for throwing a coup. There should be a video down in there. It's going to see down below, if you go down below a little bit. Right there. Now, you got to watch this, fam, because he's blaming Maduro and Correa.
Quiero destacar y agradecer el compromiso de las Fuerzas Armadas y de la Policía Nacional, quienes con absoluta lealtad han defendido, en el marco del Estado de Derecho y las libertades civiles, la democracia y las instituciones con su apoyo y trabajo permanente, siempre desde el gobierno. Vamos a seguir protegiendo los derechos y la tranquilidad ciudadanas. Evitaremos siempre cualquier derramamiento de sangre.
Fam, what do you say?
You want to translate, Johnny? You want me to do it?
Fam, you're on camera here.
Okay, so basically he was saying that we're going to keep things as they are. We're going to keep the bloodshed away, and we're going to continue doing things for the people of Ecuador in a very civilized way. He was pretty much putting them as being barbaric, as them being the civilized people, and it was a very political answer. Very, very, very political answer. So
yeah.
It's really interesting. Do we have the video of
The National Assembly or
no? Do we have the video of Moreno talking about how the United States, the one we saw on RT?
I thought that was it. I guess I got the wrong story.
No, I don't think it's that one. That's the one we watched yesterday, Johnny. Do you know with the RT? If you can find it and pull it up for right now. While we go on to the next thing.
They have taken over the National Assembly, and they've stormed. This is the people, and they've moved their whole operation, the government, 2 hours away from the capital.
Right. So they moved it from Quito, which is the original capital, to a city, the second largest city, which I think is I think it's Guayaquil. I'm not sure. It's just the second largest city in Ecuador, because they don't want to deal with the protesters, which is kind of hilarious. But there was that video yesterday where the ex-president was...
Yeah, I couldn't find it. It might be at the end of that.
Yeah, and that was a really good one because he was actually talking about the United States. He talked about the hypocrisy of the Western world.
You're talking about when Korea was talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And...
Korea, sorry.
Say it the right way.
Why didn't you guys help me out there? Let me saying it wrong and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, if we can get it up, we'll get it up eventually.
But we have stuff on Ukraine. Did you want to see?
We do have stuff on Ukraine, but let's go say hi to some of our peoples. In a nutshell, what's going on in Ecuador is more of the same. Austerity problems. Thrusted on the people, wanting to pay. He's wanting to pay the IMF back and the loans back, and he's going to use his citizens, his poor citizens, to do that and let the rich go on by lifting subsidies off the gas. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now it's just, people are saying they can barely get food on the table in Ecuador, and yet he's still taxing them. Manny says thank you. No, Manny, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Rockfin that you got to get over. We got to get ready for debate night. We're going to start talking about that. The stream will be free. So you can go over, instead of watching corporate coverage of the debate, you can watch it with us on Rockfin. We'll have our signs up, maybe some special guests. We're going to see what's going on. But once again, we implore you, watch the debate with us. Don't give the corporate media
don't give
any attention. Don't give them any love. Come watch it with us. We'll have it on.
Tulsi is on stage.
Tulsi will be on stage with Elizabeth Warren.
And Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris.
Okay, Freethinker 59 is there. I am real. You are real. Ghost Rider DOF. We love you. We always see these same people hanging around. We love you guys.
On the
David Maisel. Tony watches closely. The CONVO couch watches closely too, Tony. Aurelius Prime. Nothing is really free, right? I don't know. We can print our own money, right? Zach Prudian. I love you guys. Zach Prudian, we love you too.
Hi, Zachary.
The Patriots suck. Slack.
The Patriots do suck.
Upstate Raider. Jeff Edelman is there as well. And, of course, David Harris. We love David Harris. And H. Ali, William Martyr. Thank you so much. Over on our Facebook. Where's our Facebook, fam? Here we are. Fam, Gabriel Ramirez. Fam,
he's always
Steve
there.
Wilbrett. Fam, Dolores Pease.
Thank you guys for watching.
Ana Avacedo. Acevedo.
Good job.
Damn it. Jackie Pago. How you doing, Jack? Mikey, you take the Kings tonight. Let's go, Kings. We got it going on. All right, so do we find something, or are we just ready to go with the next?
Okay.
Let's go with the next
time.
Yeah. Fam, I want to send you a message from Ukraine with love.
From my boyfriend Putin?
No. Ukraine, your other boyfriend.
Oh.
The guy who's trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
So an update.
Zelensky. That's my other one. Sorry.
So
I get them confused sometimes.
Fam, we got to get a little update on Ukraine Gate because I found some stuff that I didn't know about. Johnny actually found a sitting congressperson doing an update that's seeing what's going on and kind of led us the way. Mm-hmm. So remember Adam Schiff's bad movie scene, fan you love?
I want Pasta to reenact that with like a mobster
I'm going to tell you this.
Like
I'm going to tell you now. I'm going
You
to tell
guys
you
want to
quick.
see it. You'd love to see it.
And I'm
right?
only going to tell you this 27 times, so you better listen up.
I swear, that's better than what
I want you to get dirt on Joe Biden. I want to get lots of dirt. And I want plenty of dirt so I can go after him. And don't call me until you have that dirt. You got it? And I'm only going to tell you this 26 more times, so you better listen up. But he did this awful thing when he announced the Intelligence Committee was opening up their own opening statements, which once again, it's weird in an impeachment process to see the Intelligence Committee handling it. Usually it would be the Foreign Affairs Committee who would be handling the situation when it was Foreign Affairs. But for some reason, they've given it up to Adam Schiff. We show Adam Schiff's ties to the Ukrainian oligarchs, whatnot. And we can just see, once again, it was another example of how are you going to impeach him on this? You're going to look so hypocritical when you are deep in there in Ukraine yourself, profiting after the coup, which once again, this is one of the reasons why I'm a Tulsi Gabbard supporter, I should say, is because of this coup I saw on live TV. It was an open coup, open regime change on live TV, making Russia the boogeyman. So when this situation happened, it set bad with me. So as we're coming back around, and like, Kim Iverson said on her show the other day, why are you picking this? This is the subject you're going to go after? This is the topic you're going to go after Donald Trump on? This? Well, not only Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, but we found something out. It turns out that Trump wasn't acting like the mafioso guy that Adam Schiff was saying. Here's a letter. Okay, fam? Now check this out. This is a letter from 3 senators. 3 Democratic senators.
From May 4th, 2018.
Exactly. Way before the phone call, way before any of this got in. It says, Dear Mr. Prosecutor General. Now, the letter's from 3 prominent Senate Democrats.
Wow.
We are writing to express great concern about reports that your office has taken steps to impede cooperation with the investigation of the United States Special Counsel Robert Mueller. As strong advocates for a robust and close relationship with Ukraine, we believe that our cooperation should extend to such legal matters regardless of politics. Ours is a relationship built on the foundation of respect for the rule of law. And accountability and accountable democratic institutions. In 4 short years, Ukraine has made significant progress in building these institutions despite ongoing military, economic, political pressure from Moscow. Woo! We supported the capacity building process and are disappointed that some in Kiev appear to have cast aside these principles in order to avoid the ire. No, the ear.
No, it's ire.
You can't say ear?
No.
The ire of President Trump.
Read
You were waiting.
Shakespeare.
I should. If these reports are true, now here's when you talk about smoke and gun. We strongly encourage you to reverse course and halt any efforts to impede cooperation with this important investigation. And they go on in the rest of the letter to set out some standards and talk about some things and things they have to do. But the last sentence says it all. If these reports are true, we strongly encourage you to reverse course and halt any efforts to impede cooperation with this important investigation. And on the second page, you can see it signed by Robert Mendez, Dick Durbin, and Pat Leahy.
Ooh.
So these are 3 senators who could withhold the aid, who could block the aid, who can whip votes to go against the aid. They are strong-arming him, not President Trump. I encourage you, go back and read the 5 pages of transcripts of the phone call. None of that language like we strongly encourage. It's more like, hey, man, would you look into certain things? What about this? This is where Russiagate started. This is where CrowdStrike resides.
Right, because Trump was looking into the origins of Russiagate, right?
He was asking about it.
He wasn't asking about Biden, really.
Well, he kind of pivoted to Biden.
He pivoted to Biden.
But
because the Ukrainian government was already doing their own investigation. Because it didn't sit well with them what was happening.
So they were already doing the investigation.
Yes.
And
exactly.
he's like, are you guys going to continue that Biden investigation?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Exactly. And like we said a year ago, these particular prosecutors were trying to come to the United States to share information with Rosenstein and Sessions, the DOJ at the time, and their visas were denied because the Ukrainian ambassador denied their visas, who was an Obama appointee. Okay, she's gone now, and now all this information is coming out to light. Here's the thing we have to understand. The president is allowed to ask for this information. And I saw some progressive commentators who were saying, well, this is in bad spirit right here. Yeah, he was kind of using his position to get dirt. No, he wasn't using his position just to get dirt. These are investigations that have been ongoing. They've been out there. They've been trying to talk about it. You know, there are 2 Ukrainians who were arrested by Ukrainian not the government, but Ukrainian law system for influencing the election over here with Hillary Clinton. They were charged over there because they bragged about helping the election.
He is using his position because he has that position, though. Like, it's like by default, anything he does, his position is going to matter. So yeah, there is some credibility to that statement. However, people's go-to thing has been with a lot of the progressive commentators, oh, he's violating the Constitution.
No, he's
I
not.
do not see in this instance him violating the Constitution. Again, we reiterate, they could have gotten him on other things that he's done, absolutely, but they didn't, and there are reasons for that. There are reasons that that involve them in these situations. And again, people are going to say, I already know, like, oh, you guys are defending Donald Trump. You guys are doing this. We're defending the truth. And that's it. We've gotten so used to commentators and pundits and the news media taking one side or the other, speaking to the people that already agree with them. So that way, that creates the views, that creates the ratings. We're not that. We're not ever going to be that. We're always going to speak on the side of truth. We're not just going to do what gets us the most clicks, the most views. And I think a lot of that is happening. You know how we went from the mainstream media with like CNN, MSNBC? We went from reactionary from that to reactionary commentators that like know what gets them the most hits and views and just regurgitate that regardless of information. And it's the same thing, guys. It's the same thing. If you're going to be independent media and you're not going to look at things in a nuanced, unbiased point of view, you're not doing your job. And I think we need to start doing more of that. And even if it gets us like people who don't like us, we're going to stick to that because this is important. And this isn't even a defense of Donald Trump. This is more so the truth that involves the Democrats in their corruption, because the reason we're pointing it out is because I, specifically speaking for myself, do not want Donald Trump to be president again. And the way the Democrats are handling this, they're going to help reelect him. Yeah. This is going to help reelect him.
Yeah.
So
fam, that was so well said. And, it's like we said, Bobby Boucher. The chickens is coming home to roost.
That's Pasta's favorite phrase.
The chickens is coming home to roost, Bobby Boucher.
Almost as much as fam.
The root of your vicious ways, your evil ways. And you're going to not play your foosball. And I want to tell the Democrats, stop playing foosball in Ukraine because, I'm not an expert. I follow this coup pretty much, but I'm not an expert. I have a hard time remembering all the Ukrainian names because they're all different and stuff, and I can almost explain stuff that was going on.
Novel.
But this was a televised frigging coup. And the Democrats got behind it. Biden, Obama, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, they all got behind it. You want to go after Donald Trump, you got him on emoluments in Saudi Arabia. He's got 8 businesses he registered during the campaign. Yep. And now he's sending troops over there to protect it. But you won't go after him for emoluments over there. Why? And all this whole Ukraine thing, you're trying to concentrate on the phone call and the way the information, once again, it's like the DNC again with WikiLeaks and the election with the primary. We should be concerned not who stole the emails. We should be concerned who wrote them. We shouldn't be concerned about what happened with the phone call in the Ukraine. We should be concerned what happened in the Ukraine.
Right.
And that's where the fucking big sins are.
Right.
And that's what we're missing. Because when it comes to Ukraine, and this is why I gave Tulsi the strike, no, you will not stand behind. Anybody who stands behind this impeachment is standing behind the perpetuation of regime change, a bloody regime change in Ukraine. And I'm not for it.
Yep.
That's where I draw the shit line.
And they're trying to tie this to Russiagate entirely. To keep the thing of Russiagate alive. And again, if you want other, thought-provoking and anti-establishment narratives, please go look at what Glenn Greenwald is saying, what Aaron Mattei is saying, what Jimmy Dore is saying. I mean, again, these are the people that consistently get foreign policy right. Yeah. They consistently get it right. We're not just making this up. And, and they're journalists that I look to, especially people like Glenn Greenwald, that have always been pretty much right on the issue. So
yeah. And, I got to say, like, everybody involved, too, as well. Like, all these people that were involved that had lines right to the Ukrainian government. They're all Democratic establishment, loyalists and stuff. Right. They're, the only person that I really questioned, that I really hated on that list and I want to see more was Tad Devine. who's obviously worked for Bernie, but he's not part of the campaign anymore, thank God. But there was all these other people that were involved that had lines right to the government, right to the Ukrainian government, to what was going on. It was disgusting. It was our puppet government, if I've ever seen one.
Did you want to? I think we had a super chat.
We do have a super chat, don't we? Who gave us money to help us out our business? I am real glad you found the Duran. Great resource. You better believe it. And
it's interesting because they have different views than we do, to a degree, And I think I've seen them on Crosstalk. I watch it with Pasta, but again, a lot of our people don't want to even look at people with a remotely different point of view, and that's extremely dangerous. Because I even will watch CNN, MSNBC just to see what they're saying, and it irritates me to do that, and it irritates me to watch Fox. But at the same time, like I have to see the propaganda that these right and these left channels are spewing for their narrative for their bosses. Like that's the bottom line, right? And then in between that, I other independent news sources, and then you read and you come to your own conclusion, because we are, when you look at everything, that's when you get the truth. You can't just look at one thing and assume that this is the right thing. You have to look at everything. This is why it takes so much research and time to do these shows, because it's not just as simple as reading one article. So.
Yeah. Tony Watches Closely was talking about Rockfin. We have some super chats. Thank you, Tony Watches Closely. We watch what's going on in the world closely. Mr. Orochi, thank you so much. Have you seen Anna's recent Modi Tulsi smear video? Was that the one where she used our video? That one where she used the CONVO couch video? where we're Tulsi sycophants, but we have the stones to ask her about Kashmir.
I literally asked her. I was the first person to ask her on Kashmir. I wasn't a question that if I have been a sycophant, I wouldn't have asked her. From it. I would have gave her a softball question. And in fact, we go to these town halls. Other journalists like from Real Progressives, Tina Berg also went, and she goes to a lot of these things in live streams. And those are real journalists, the people that go to these town halls and cover them, the people that do that, not the people that simply sit there and just like rant on what their opinion on what somebody else is saying. And I think there needs to be more of that. Like, if you don't like her, if you want to hear what she says, put a mic in front of her and ask her a goddamn question. That's all.
Oh, and here it is. Like, go ahead, show that. There she is.
Situation as a black and white issue.
Yeah. First of all, recognizing that it is complex. It is not as clear-cut as this one side versus this one side. I think it's important as outsiders looking in to understand the complex history of Kashmir and what has happened to people there in the past, and how many families were driven from their homes there and fled and have not been able to return home. How the previous government had policies in place that made homosexuality illegal, that suppressed the voices of women, that made it. I met a woman a couple of days ago who said that she, as a Kashmiri woman, had no rights to own property there in her homeland. So these changes are things that are happening in a sovereign country. They're very difficult. There are concerns that should be addressed about human rights violations and civil rights violations. But overall, I think this is a situation, again, in a sovereign country that must be worked out by all sides who have a stake in their own future there.
Yeah. Once again, tough question. You know what I'm saying? And
I just genuinely think that was it's an okay answer, decent, because I'm the kind of person that thinks you shouldn't, as a politician, if you don't know the whole story, take sides, and you should listen to what other people have to say. I would recommend her to go talk to the Palestinian side. I'm sorry, the Pakistani side as well, because she has to do that if she's going to be unbiased and, an ambassador. A lot of people didn't like that answer. A lot of people felt like, on the other side of the issue that she blah, blah, blah. So if I was a sycophant, we wouldn't have aired that. We wouldn't have put it out there. We would have protected it. So I just think it's ridiculous to say that, that there's that over there. And I think I look at her answer like, it's a very diplomatic answer. And unlike, Bernie took a more like, no, we need to go and we need to help these people. And that was his stance on it. And that's fair. Like, that's what he believed in. And he did it over a crowd of Muslims, which has a lot of weight. Like, imagine if he hadn't have done that. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah, it's foreign policy issues that a lot of us don't even know. They barely know. And all these people are taking a side and acting like they know what's going on, and they don't. And this is, again, nobody's defending Modi. It was just to get her answer, and that's what we did.
Yeah, it was the topic of the time and whatnot. And here's the thing: all the people who can't stand Tulsi, you got Peter Frederick, Samira Khan, Anna. They all used our
Emma,
piece to smear.
Michael Brooks,
Yeah,
Michael
they all used
Figueredo.
our piece to smear, and we knew this going into it. It's like, well, it's gonna be a controversial question. It's like Fiorella's like, I don't care, and I did the same thing. And can we show the China question, because I think it's only fair. I know we're kind of going snafu here, but when you say that Bernie listens and we can move him, and remember we said his best answer was, I got to listen to foreign policy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was on
Okay.
pins and
Bernie has
needles
said
because
that.
a lot of people had a lot of opinions of Hong Kong, what was going on. And almost all of Congress generally said they stood with pro-democracy protest. But weeks after, we saw a lot of nefarious actions between the NED, the NGOs that are in there pumping money. What is your personal stance on how we should be handling Hong Kong and Chinese in the government?
Let's look to the people of Hong Kong. Look to the people of Hong Kong. You see how they rose up, they protested, civil disobedience, and what happened as a result? That legislation was pulled. They made the difference. Do you really think that the United States coming in and imposing its will would have had that same effect? No. The power of the people, as difficult as these situations are, as painful as they are to watch and witness, these changes have to come organically from within in order for them to be effective and long-lasting.
But what about the finances from the NED pouring money into these protests?
I'm honestly not familiar with all of that. All I was watching was what was happening there and what the people were doing and the issues that they were raising, and they were able to bring about the change that they were seeking.
Okay, so I was upset with that answer.
Pasta was very upset with that answer.
I cried from that answer, because here's the regime change candidate that didn't understand about the regime change tactics, or didn't know at the time. And listen, this is right when she came back from her deployment. Stuff
Right.
was going on, but
But he was upset.
I was.
He was.
And Johnny, right below, right above the green in the document, it says Ellen DeGeneres hangs out with George Bush. Right above that, I just put that one right above that, I just put a film of what she says. Now, we say that Bernie can be moved. Well, look who's been doing our homework, and we'll get it in 2 seconds. Look who's been doing our work on China. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I said the NED, she's like, I don't know about that. But that, once again, says, oh, man, I better go take a look at what's going on. And watch how the answer to it is now at a town hall 2 days ago and what she says.
When the original protests began, it was around a piece of legislation that was being pushed forward.
I'm going to raise the volume here. Just give me
Okay.
1
1
second.
second, guys. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Johnny, for hitting you with that. I didn't think we were going to go to that. I was trying to save that for tomorrow, because we talk about Syria tomorrow. I got a phone call trying to schedule with my friend Howard Gold. Howard, where are you? You're not online. We got to look. We got to talk about Syria and Turkey.
Yeah, I had a
He's an expert
conversation
at it.
too with Colin, and he's not. Colin and a bunch of people are actually on Howard's point of view, where we can't just remove the troops, which is really interesting, because I'm definitely very hesitant when we say, oh, we need to do it in a sensible way.
Okay, here we go. Here's her answer on China, on Hong Kong.
When the original protests began, it was around a piece of legislation that was being pushed forward. Those protests continued, I think, a lot longer than many people expected, but it ultimately resulted in that legislation being pulled back and no longer being considered. This is a complex environment and relationship that has a long history between Hong Kong and China that ultimately needs to be resolved between both the people and the governments of these countries. When the original...
That's it.
So, I mean, now her answer is pretty much like, okay, we got to stay out of it. It's got to be resolved between Hong Kong and Beijing. And that's what I wanted to hear, because she started looking into what's going on. And that's a signal to say, we don't need to get involved.
Right.
When I said the NND is involved, she was like, I didn't know about that. And if you go look up, you go to the Ron Paul Institute, who always gets a lot of that stuff. We talk about those libertarian channels. I always go over there with Mr. McAdams, and I listen to, because they follow the money when it comes to war. You'll see the nefariousness of the NED pumping in a ton of money into these protests, where they had these gas masks, these helmets, all these stuff, the American flags, you know what I'm saying?
And it's still a very controversial issue, because there are organic things that have developed up that. But there's no denying that there was definitely U.S. influence through these NGOs and money as well to promoted to these protests. Like, people have taken, again, the Democrats have generally taken the side that she was actually kind of, swinging on initially in the first interview, where, yeah, this is good, these are the people standing up. But the foreign policy mavens have actually, like, the gray zone, and again, the same people like Glenn Greenwald, all of these people have been sort of taken, like, no, there's a little bit of, like, U.S. influence in this, a lot of it actually, and, we do not want to involve ourselves in this. This could also lead to another regime change. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's actually both, personally, me. But I think we always have to be careful when these things are involved, so.
I believe heavily in climate change, and I believe we should do something when it comes to fracking and oil going into our water.
Absolutely.
Libertarians aren't there. I believe that we need to do something with healthcare, that
Absolutely.
we really need
Everybody
to,
needs
what I'm saying? Libertarians aren't there. But when it comes to regime change wars, libertarians are there. When it comes to civil rights, libertarians are there. Go to the Ron Paul Institute page and take a look at what they have to say. They usually get out ahead of front when it comes to the NED. They're watching. They know these sources of money. They invented the word blowback, and we need to sometimes watch them when it comes to these issues.
Yeah.
Ron Sten said, fair warning, Pierre Omidyar is a natural billionaire enemy of Tulsi. He uses the Intercept, in quotations, Hassan, to attack her.
Oh, yeah,
and
we've
some
seen it.
smears come from him.
Absolutely. We've seen it.
Know your enemy.
You have to look at the writer. I always look at the writers. And that's something that I think more of us should do. There's obviously, especially in op-ed pieces, obviously there are biases for the writer. Anything else, fam, before we move on?
No, we got to get to the topic.
David
really.
Harris, he gave us a super chat. Look up Syrian girl to have on your show about Syria.
Oh, I know that
Would
girl.
love to do that.
Where's she at? Oh, there she is, David Harris. David Harris, I know who she is. I've seen her online. She's got a lot of knowledge. I'm going to hit her up on Twitter. Maybe I'll have Fam hit her up on Twitter. Her name is Syrian Girl, I believe. And she's got a lot of great stuff out there as well. So, I mean, the situation in Syria is so complex, and we got to look into it, because I heard somebody saying the other day, it's like, hey, listen, we might be pulling out these 150 troops. Donald Trump said it was 50. This other gentleman said it was 150, and he was reporting from that area. But there are other bases in there that we're not going to pull out.
Yeah.
So it seems like this is theater going on.
This is more complex than just pulling troops out. But, I mean, I've always been for, staying out. But it's almost like we will start another war, too, if we pull out. There's a lot of complexity in this issue. It requires more of a complex answer than just pull out. Yeah. And I think people are going to have a hard time figuring that out. So
let's talk about some serious issues now, fam.
Let's talk about the serious issues.
Let's talk about the serious issues. Oh, wait, let me say hi to some people really quick on the Facebook, because our girl, Valerie Flanagan from Iowa.
Great. Valerie's doing a lot of work for Bernie right now. We need to focus on Iowa next. That's what we're going to be focusing on the virtual caucuses and everything that's going on there. These states are going to be crucial. New Hampshire, Iowa, Nevada. What happens in those states is going to be indicative of what happens the rest of the time. So
Michael Joyce says hi. Go Tulsi Gabbard. You better believe it, Michael Joyce on the Facebook. And Sarah Joyce, Michelle, or Sarah Michael, whatever you want to say it if you're French. Sarah Joyce says Russiagate was all to cover up Ukrainegate. So Duran and Crosstalk have been covering this Ukraine stuff for a long time. You're absolutely right. What I've been doing, going back to the old crosstalks and watching Ukraine. Also, Kevin Zeese. Hopefully we can get a hold of him. Oh. I'd love to talk about Kevin Zeese.
Absolutely.
Popularresistance.org. They have it in real time. You can follow it bit by bit. And if you want to go to Glenn Beck and look at the chalkboard, he does the kitty thing. And once again, I'm not a big Glenn Beck fan, but when he puts that chalkboard up there, and, I cross-reference all the stuff he was saying to Kevin Zeese, cross-reference all the stuff he was saying to John Solomon, to Crosstalk, and it's pretty damn accurate. There might be a couple wares where he kind of tweaks things, and, he does a little Glenn Beck thing, but the chalkboard gives you a whole perspective of what's going on. And before we get to the next topic, I just want to send a special shout out to our man, Rocky B. Rocky Bellinger's finally on there. Joined. Where were you, Rocky? You were late.
Steve Wolfbrand.
Better late than never.
Stevie W. Steve Wolfbrand, we love you. Fam, something serious here.
So this is really serious,
okay.
you guys. Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, my Lord.
Beloved Ellen DeGeneres hung out with George W. Bush, and people were really upset. So here's a little backstory. Ellen had booted Kim Burrell, who is a gospel singer who was supposed to sing with Fiorella at her show in 2017 for saying homophobic remarks both on Facebook and in a video that went viral of her doing gospel. But that same year, Ellen also had George Bush on. So this isn't anything new in 2017 and prior and during up until this time. Ellen and George Bush have a friendship. She calls him her friend, and they actually hang out. So fast forward to now, they were at a Cowboys versus, I don't know, the cheese one, the cheese team.
Packers.
Packers. Yeah. A Cowboys versus
the cheese team. They were
this
playing
is how
the cheese
illiterate
team.
I am when it comes to these sports.
But you know the Patriots suck, right?
I do know the Patriots.
And the Jets
suck.
are awesome.
The Jets suck too.
Right,
So anyway, so they were over there and they were laughing, and there was a short video. I think that got taken down because I had retweeted it, but it got taken down. And they were like having a great time. He was there with his wife. She was there with her wife. Blah, blah, blah. So you all recall that George W. Bush was completely homophobic, anti-LGBT. That is a very important point to make. So it's kind of hypocritical of her to be hanging out with this guy who was pushing legislation against people like her. A lot of that doesn't even come up.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and like, you know, she stands against it, but then in her private life, she's friends with someone like that. It's really interesting. But here's her response when she defended her friendship with George Bush, and to me, it was very tone deaf and just dismissive.
So I want to talk about something that happened this weekend. I know it's Tuesday. Sometimes I like to ruminate on things all day Monday so that on Tuesday you hear about it. So this weekend I went to Dallas for the Cowboys game. And thanks. And it may not seem like a big deal for a celebrity to attend a football game, but I never leave my house, so it is a big deal. I go through the drive-thru at Wendy's, so I only have to see one person. I'm that kind of person. So there were 100,000 people in this stadium. Beautiful stadium, by the way, that Dallas has. So Portia and I were invited by Charlotte Jones. She's the daughter of Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys. And we went because we wanted to keep up with the Joneses. So anyway, so we get to sit in this very fancy suite because, you know, he owns the whole place. So his suite is fancy, and he's got fancy friends. And I don't mean fancy like Real Housewife fancy. I mean like fancy. Look, I took a video of who was next to me. So that was Portia, and that was Charlotte Jones. Portia was talking to, and George W. Bush, and then in front of us was the tallest man in the world. And so I've got to say, when we were invited, I was aware that I was going to be surrounded with people from very different views and beliefs. And I'm not talking about politics. I was rooting for the Packers, and get this, everybody in the Cowboys suite was rooting for the Cowboys. And so I had to hide my cheese hat in Portia's purse. And don't get me wrong, I like the Cowboys. I love the Cowboys. I love all the Village people, as a matter of fact. But Aaron Rodgers is a friend of mine. He's the quarterback for the Packers, and so I'm sitting in the Cowboys suite, the owner of the Cowboys, and secretly cheering every time the Packers scored, or every time another whistleblower came forward. And the referees, you guys, the referees. But during the game, they showed a shot of George and me laughing together, and so people were upset. They thought, why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president? Didn't even notice I'm holding the brand new iPhone 11. And, but a lot of people were mad, and they did what people do when they're mad. They tweet, and but here's one tweet that I loved. This person says, Ellen and George Bush together makes me have faith in America again. And
lose faith in America.
Exactly. Here's the thing. I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have. We're all different, and I think that we've forgotten that that's okay, that we're all different. For instance, I wish people wouldn't wear fur. I don't like it, but I'm friends with people who wear fur. And I'm friends with people who are furry, as a matter of fact. I have friends who should tweeze more. And but just because I don't agree with someone on everything doesn't mean that I'm not going to be friends with them. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way that you do. I mean be kind to everyone. Doesn't matter. Even people who are already playing Christmas music. I mean, seriously, there's no excuse for that, but I'm kind to them. Anyway, I want to thank Jerry Jones, Charlotte Jones for hosting us, and thanks President Bush and Laura for a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Was anybody surprised?
I wasn't surprised at all.
She's
and here's
a neoliberal.
The thing. She is. And the thing is, she's definitely pro-Hillary. She's been pro-Hillary. She's had Bernie on her show. She's a nice person, like, in the sense of being like an entertainer. She's nice, whatever. I've been to her show. A lot of my actor friends and people in the entertainment industry just love her. She's just a likable person. Now, she is not a politician, so I'm not going to judge her in the way I judge a politician. But that was a very tone-deaf argument. That is saying, basically, you're equating people who wear fur to warmongers who have killed thousands and thousands, millions ultimately, of Iraqis. Yeah. You're and not only Iraqis, but Americans. I mean, George Bush is responsible for one of the deadliest wars America's ever fought, and that we are still reeling from. So to so many people, that was just so dismissive and so like, oh, I'm just gonna sit here in my elitist with my elitist warmongering friend, and it's not people you don't agree with. Sure, I agree. Let's be kind to everybody, even people we don't agree with. We always talk about that. We talk about talking to the other side, but she's literally putting a warmonger there and equating him to just someone with a different political view. And the thing is, the problem is that he hasn't been held accountable at all. So we can't really expect him to be shunned by society if the government and our government and our electeds haven't ever held him accountable either. Yeah. So there's that too. And sure, I completely disagree with her. I completely think that was an entirely awful thing. And I think, as someone who has so much influence, she has 87 million followers on Twitter. She's someone that has such a following.
Huge.
She is pretty much dismissive of the war crimes he has committed. She could have said something like, I understand why people are upset because he has committed these war crimes, and I think he should have been held accountable.
They will never say that. They will never say that.
They will never say that.
Ellen DeGeneres' net worth is approximately $450 million, says Armin Manoogian, and that should help explain the situation. She plays ball. You know what I'm saying? She plays ball, and she's always played ball with Hollywood, connected to the deep state, connected to all these people. Yep. It's one big group.
And you ain't in it.
You ain't in it, and Ellen is. What does Mark Ruffalo have to say, Johnny?
Mark Ruffalo says, sorry, until George W. Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, including American-led torture, Iraqi deaths and displacement, and the deep scars, emotional and otherwise, inflicted on our military that served as folly, we cannot even begin to talk about kindness.
Exactly. We can't. And it's completely dismissive of all of that. And by the way, what Paso pointed out, I just want to reinforce that point. This is class elitism. This is a definition. Remember, it's surpassing homophobia. She doesn't care. It's surpassing any kind of social justice issues, because ultimately, at the end of the day, what divides us from Ellen and what connects Ellen and Bush is their elitism. We don't get invited to the luxury seats of the Dallas Cowboys suite. We don't, right? They do. They're going to see each other even if they don't want to. They're going to hang out in the same circles. It is the 99% versus the 1%, and it does not get any more clear than that. So where's the thing? I wanted to also show Tulsi's response now.
Before we go into that, I want to say, okay, so just talking about Ellen first then.
Yeah.
So we would like it if our celebrities would be informed and would tell the truth, right?
Right.
But they don't, because they're taking the corporate money. They're taking all the money or
not just that.
What else?
Not just that. The moment you start being like a Mark Ruffalo or a Susan Sarandon, and you start speaking out against this, they completely shun you. It is very difficult to get jobs. Yeah. You are this thing that is standing that is like almost they put you as like a non-progressive. You're like a party pooper. You're not with the in crowd. And when everybody else is like following that same line, it is hard. It's just like the journalist. It's just they're not going to find jobs. It's the same way. I'm not excusing it. I am simply saying that is the culture. You get blacklisted. You get treated like you're this thing. I mean,
Yeah.
We've seen it. The only people that I've seen like really do hard work and still somehow manage to get roles here and there are Susan Sarandon, Mark Ruffalo, Francis Fisher, all of these people that are activists in the community, Rosario Dawson. But it's very, very few. Very, very,
and they're
very
not
few.
even still getting a ton of work that they could be getting because of their opinions. And let's be honest, too. Ellen DeGeneres has been rich for a long, long time. Yeah. Bill Maher's been rich for a long, long time. When you're in your own echo chamber, in your own bubble, it's hard to see the suffering of the regular people every day that are really going to price for the policies like George Bush put into place when it came to war. When he was very bad when it came to, he talked about possibly amending the Constitution when it came to gay marriage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That doesn't affect you. You have money. You're in your bubble, so you don't care. You're outside of that class of the people who are suffering. And these people like, and I've said this before, and we'll get into this a little bit more. Let me just wait off to the side because I have some stuff to say. I don't want to jump the gun, but go right ahead, fam, because I have some opinions.
Just one more thing, like she's if she's gay, she's a lesbian, she's married to another woman. She knows these issues and doesn't care about that. I couldn't be friends with someone if I was that hated lesbians. If I was a lesbian, because it just would go against everything that I believe in, right? But somehow that's okay because they're both rich. And that just tells you that class and elitism surpasses all of these identities that we have. It's the bottom line is money and the class, and we have to start understanding that. So I want to talk about Tulsi's response because Tulsi's response sparked controversy. I'm going to be honest, I was not happy with her response. I thought that it was tone deaf as well. I understood what she was responding to. I thought that, let me be clear, she was responding to Ellen's response, not to George W. Bush.
Yeah.
But because Ellen's response was so dismissive and so tone deaf, thereby responding to Ellen's response in this way was completely also dismissive of the actual problem, that George Bush is a warmonger and that this is a class issue and that this shouldn't have been praised in any way. So Tulsi's response was, at the Ellen Show's message of being kind to all is so needed right now. Enough with the divisiveness. We can't let politics tear us apart. There are things we will disagree on strongly and things we agree on. Let's treat each other with respect, aloha, and work together for the people. Let me see if I can pull it up. But I basically, to me, that was, again, dismissive of why people were angry. Especially Tulsi being the anti-war candidate. She is here when it comes to foreign policy to tell people that, stop with the divisiveness when people are with you because you stand against warmongers, you stand against regime change. It was really surprising to a lot of people to hear her say that. Now, it wasn't as surprising to me because she surpasses her message of aloha and speaking to the other side over everything. But there is a limit to that. So I want to see if I can find what I said, because I said something. And
is it in the comments?
Yeah, it's in the comment section. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Here it is. It's a little bit above there. Well, Nico said something. Okay, so let's just look at the comments, actually, Johnny, if you're there. So Nico, Tulsi's getting attacked a lot over this, right? By her own supporters. And Nico said, look, Bernie has also pretty much said things not stood up for Assange. And then he said, let's see. Nico, oh, by the way, the logic expressed by many concerned trolls in this thread, Bernie is consciously complicit in the Trump administration to not only take away the right of Assange, but Chelsea Manning as well. Then, people said...
I see Curry Dobson's here. He says, I'm not going to say cancel Ellen or say rude things to her. I'm going to remind her or you of anyone else exactly who George W. Bush is. He is a war criminal responsible for the deaths of over 1 million people, in which he has all these pictures of our...
Love Curry. Yeah. Love Curry. Curry was the one who asked Tulsi at a town hall, will she stand up for us if they cheat again? And then the microphone was pulled away, and the question was obfuscated by Jane Elbrack. We have an interview with Jane Elbrack asking her how can we have unity if we don't have any accountability?
Exactly. And this
same thing Maria Estrada asked for
and
this
weekend. Falls into that. I want to read Sofia Saldivar's response because she's a huge Tulsi supporter. And she said, absolutely not. Bush ignored the warnings from intel agencies protecting the al-Qaeda attack and is responsible for the death of thousands of American lives and 500,000 Iraqi lives. There is nothing to be forgiven, only prosecuted for. And that is what Sophia said. And I think And I think that's pretty much reminiscent of how I feel.
What
like
did Mikey, you say?
Okay. I understand your logic, but where does it stop? Right. Because it seems that we need to cancel everyone. Whoever takes a selfie. Okay. So this is his logic with Obama, Biden, Clinton, who were also war criminals, albeit to a lesser extent than Bush Cheney. Tulsi has merely defended Ellen, who is naive at worst. So some people understood that she was defending Ellen, who is, I agree, Ellen is naive. She's not a politician. But I still think it was wrong of her to
I think you said it best, too. What did Sarah Abdullah say? Because she's great about that stuff.
She said, didn't realize, rightfully pointing out that George Bush is a genocidal war criminal that has the deaths and displacement of millions of Afghanis, Iraqis, Pakistanis, Somalis, Palestinians, and Lebanese on his head was divisive. Exactly. So
she's one of my favorites.
It's not divisive to point out that he is that, and this is why people are upset. And I think she should have spoken to that. And again, Chavista Misty, who is a huge fan of Tulsi, said, bad take. He's a literal war criminal. This isn't just a political differences over abortion. This is 1 million dead Iraqis. He should be shunned from polite society. But that's the thing. He's not going to be shunned by our polite society when he has millions of dollars. His family is old money rich. They have still power. That's not going to happen. We need to take over the government in order for that to happen, right? So this is going to continue happening with our politician and a bunch of people. And here's what I said, Johnny. If you keep scrolling right down,
Abu Ghraib prison one, you'll see it.
My response was very pretty much diplomatic because I think she had the right intention, but I said, I love you, Tulsi, and everything you spread in the name of aloha. Yes, we should be kind to people we disagree with, but there's a line to be drawn. A lot of us who've seen the suffering with no accountability understand there must be a limit. War crimes are those limits. And so again, I disagree with her. I understand what she was going for, but she didn't need to say any of this. She could have just stayed silent. Bernie didn't say anything on this. Like, it would have been smart of her to stay silent and be advised not to take this stance. And I completely think it was the bad. What do you think?
Once again, it's not a situation where she's canceled.
Right.
But it is a situation where it's cause some concern. I think you said it best the other day. Tulsi needs to read the room at times.
Yeah.
Just stay silent on this thing. Just don't say anything. That's what I would have done. I would have done the biggest course of action was to take no course of action.
Right.
Allow people the ability in the room to be upset at Ellen for propping up and, just beautifying a war criminal.
Right.
People once again, I have no surprise at that because Ellen is part of that whole crew. Like Armin Manoogian said, she's worth $450 million. You don't get that job. You don't get to play ball. You don't get that money unless you play ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense? You don't get to play ball unless you play ball.
And that's the problem when you don't think that there's a class difference. Like, there is clearly a class difference. This is class warfare. And this is also, it's impacting people in ways that there's a limit. There's a limit to where you cross that line. Like, be kind to people that have committed atrocities, but they haven't been held accountable, and if any other politician said this, I would criticize them just the same. But I do want to point out something Pasta said. This isn't about canceling her. This cancel culture is ridiculous because there's a lot of hypocrisy out there with people saying, oh, she's canceled, I supported her until this, for over a tweet. I look at people's actions more than I look at the tweets, because if I looked at their tweets, I would have canceled every single person. So let's look at some of our leaders who have unfortunately pretty much elevated warmongers before. So I want to put up AOC's tweet here. That was really bad because I hate hypocrisy. And I like to point out that I've seen a lot of hypocrisy with people on this. John McCain's legacy represents an unparalleled example of human decency in American service. As an intern, I learned a lot about the power of humanity and government through his deep friendship with Senator Kennedy. He meant so many people. My prayers are with his family. Sure, he was dying. But if you went back to the tweet and you saw the responses, people did not like that. People were upset with her. And I think that was a terrible tweet. I remember I said, this isn't the right take. You shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, we did a show on it.
Yeah,
we did an entire show on that as well.
Can I ask a question though, real quick? We talk about cancel culture, but what about me personally when I have like strike systems?
Yeah.
Like I said, well, I'm very mad at her of this, but if there continues to be this pattern of like, just ignorance of sorts, and like, you're supposed to understand these foreign policy affairs and what's going on, and not only that tweet, what I'm saying, but there was a bunch of other stuff that happened where, AOC right now, she also defended Adam Schiff. That was like strike 2, you know what I'm saying? And like, Now the her whole defending Adam Schiff too.
Yeah.
You know, and then her defending what was his name, Jorge Ramos, asking those questions of Bernie and saying those were fair. I mean, there's been so many issues which I don't want to say I'm canceling somebody, but I just don't have the gumption, the hope, the love for these people. Like, I don't think I'll put on my purple AOC shirt anymore.
The fire for inside
And Pasta went, like, he was there. He was hosting.
I wore my purple shirt.
We hosted the events for AOC. I mean, he's not just, someone that didn't like her. I mean, we loved her, and I think there are things that, again, a lot of the tweets she's been doing are terrible. But again, I look at her actions more than her tweets, since her actions have thus far been pretty decent. So I'm going to look at the legislation she's passing. I don't okay her tweets by any means, but I'm still giving her the benefit of the doubt based on the legislation she's pushing.
The lack of inaction, though, at certain situations is what bothers me. It's not the actions that she's taken. She's taken some great actions, come up with some great plans. Even her bill the other day to have a nationwide rent control.
I think that's
kind
wonderful.
Of parallel to Bernie Sanders and getting that notion out there. I love that, but it's the inaction that she's taken. Remember when I told you I was upset, Johnny, because she kind of shunned Max Blumenthal? For me, when you see Max Blumenthal, you need an answer. You need to talk to somebody. Somebody who knows the region and goes to the region, who understands, who's got a big following when it comes to that, when people are really compassionate about this stuff. Right. We're murdering people. Yeah. We're killing people. We're starving people out. Sorry if I got you. You know what I'm saying? This is the inaction that bothers me when it comes to AOC. You know what I'm saying? That Venezuelan thing is really, really deep for me. Yep. The whole Jack Ryan thing, when they're putting out this movie, this propaganda. God. I mean, this is something serious here. 40,000 people are going to die because of our sanctions. Much, much more are going to starve and be injured, malnutrition. When is enough is enough? And the fact that we've all been off on this, it bothers me. And this is why, once again, when you see Tulsi Gabbard, hands off Venezuela, unequivocally. That is what we need. Right. Oh, here's your girl, Liz. What did she say?
So Elizabeth Warren is another one. George H.W., who isn't as bad, but he was still a warmonger, was an American patriot who lived his life and served our country with dignity. From joining the Navy during World War II to the presidency, his devotion to public service was unmatched. Bruce and I send our heartfelt condolences to his family. She's talked about him. And then she also, I'll bring it up later, but this is Elizabeth Warren and Barack Obama, who took a selfie. For a lot of people, Obama was a warmonger. He got us into 7 wars. He got us into more wars than Trump has.
Ukraine, too. He's got to speak for Ukraine.
He was the droner, the main droner in chief.
Fracker in chief.
He was the one that began the engagement of children, which the photographs are there, but people don't like to touch on it. So again, I'm pointing out that this is politics. Politicians are going to be friends because they're part of this political sphere. And I also want to point out, though, the difference between Elizabeth Warren and, say, Bernie Sanders and, say, even AOC is that her actions have actually been far more nefarious and damaging to people when it comes to foreign policy and the military. She sounds like Netanyahu when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And after especially seeing Gaza fights for freedom, this is disgusting. She said this: the Israeli military has a right to attack Palestinian hospitals and schools in self-defense. Hamas has put rocket launchers next to them. That's entirely untrue, by the way. She said that at a local town hall, according to Cape Cod Times. Warren, in defending her vote to send funds to Israel in the middle of the war with Hamas, said she thinks civilian casualties are the last thing Israel wants. She's painting Israel here as the victim, and she has voted accordingly. So, again, I look at people's actions and their actual policy way more than I look at their tweets. So while I didn't like that tweet about George H.W., this, to me, has more of an effect, and this is why I will never support Elizabeth Warren. Now, I want to move to Bernie because it's only fair that if I'm criticizing everybody else, I'm going to point out the things he has said that have bothered me. He also said Senator John McCain was a friend and a man of great courage and integrity. We need a president who will fight for our veterans, not attack the memory of an American hero. So this is in response to Donald Trump, of course. I got him on this tweet. A lot of his supporters went after him on this tweet. We weren't very happy with it. He could have said, I send my condolences, period. He didn't have to say great courage and integrity. John McCain was a warmonger, period. And I think any sort of elevation of warmongers is wrong. And of course, this was an instance where I did not agree with his tweet. I still care for Bernie.
This is the one that pisses me off.
This is the one that pisses me off.
This is the one that pisses me off.
Bernie Sanders said I would take George H.W. Bush back in the White House over Trump any day.
That's terrible.
He said, terrible. While I disagreed with George H.W. Bush on a lot, he was an honest man. He was a decent man. He loved his country very much.
And then he told Stephen Colbert that we wish we could have a president who was honest back in the White House again. Again, this is playing to the centrist idea that anybody but Trump. We miss warmongers and war criminals. We miss them because they're not Trump. And that's a very dangerous trope to go on. And again, I disagree with Bernie on this. He's saying these things. But people, this is the last one I want to show on Bernie. People were wondering if this is a joke. I think it could be a joke because Bernie posted this. He said, "Happy birthday, Ronald Reagan."
It's not a joke.
He said, "We're going to close the unproductive tax loopholes that have allowed some of these truly wealthy to avoid paying their fair share. In theory, some of those loopholes were understandable, but in practice, they sometimes made it possible for millionaires to pay nothing, while a bus driver was paying 10% of his salary, and that's crazy. It's time we stopped it." Ronald Reagan said this on June 6, 1985. Ronald Reagan is the reason we have a lot of these neoliberal policies that have completely destroyed our economy, and now we're in late-stage capitalism. So to promote him in any way, it goes against everything Bernie stands for. So that's why people thought it was a joke. I'm not sure about this one, but if it is, it's hilarious. If it's not, it's really ridiculous.
I would have said I would like to thank Ronald Reagan for selling weapons to another country to secretly pay for regime change war instead of using your tax dollar.
And it's interesting because, again, I am a Bernie Sanders supporter through and through, and a lot of the tweets that he's been promoting as of late, a lot of the foreign policy, I don't stand with, but I'm still supporting him because I look at the legislation he's pushing, the policy proposals he has, the way he's been consistent over 40 years. I look at that and I weight it. I'm not going to cancel him. If I were to cancel Tulsi over that, I'd be a hypocrite and would have to cancel Bernie too. That's the whole point. I think this cancel culture is detrimental to our movement. We need to be able to criticize these people, say, look, you did this wrong. You need to do better. And they usually listen. The people that like Bernie, he'll listen. He'll be like, no, this is wrong. If we're pushing him on Assange right now, that's something he needs to listen to.
Big time.
People with Tulsi, she needs to be more critical of warmongers, of people like even Biden. She hasn't been critical of these people, and people have a problem with that, and she needs to listen. But if you cancel them, they're never going to know what they're doing. No. You need to make sure to let them know, hey, this is wrong. These tweets, yes, they're not actions, but your voice matters when you are a political candidate, when you're a public official.
Yeah, and sometimes they should say nothing instead of saying anything. In other words, it's not so much that you're not being critical at times. It's sometimes you're just lifting these people. You're being too positive to them. And that's the problem I have. For Bernie Sanders, he doesn't have to say anything negative about Ronald Reagan, but don't say happy birthday. Don't say anything at all. Don't glorify warmongers. Don't glorify, the people who have really put us in a jam and have just infused and inflated suffering across this country.
And I've seen people also cancel Bernie for some of the things he said, and I think that's wrong too, because again, he's been consistent. His actions speak louder than his tweets. Yeah. Half of these tweets, the majority of them aren't even from him. They're from somebody, his assistant and whatever. Like, he hasn't even tweeted in a long time because he would put his initials at the end of his Senator Sanders tweet.
BS.
So, yeah, he would put BS.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
So, fams, I mean, no one's perfect. So,
no one.
In your guys' minds, what should the ideal leader, what would the ideal leader say? Who would, the ideal, candidate, what would they say in regards to Ellen and Bush, or what would they say
anything at all?
What would they say about Bush?
Either not say anything at all, or say I also
less
think
is more.
Less is more if you're running a campaign, which Bernie did. He did well by not saying anything, but at the same time, if you are going to say something, I don't think it's right for Ellen to completely be dismissive of what people are upset about. I wouldn't have said anything in the beginning. After she responded, I would have said she shouldn't be dismissive of people's problems because George Bush was responsible for the death of many, and she should listen to, as a public figure with so much influence, she should have an ability to understand this is why people are upset and not be so dismissive.
Who, Ellen?
Something along those lines. Yeah. Because but that's the thing. But and this shows that, this is a class issue, especially if I was someone like Bernie. I would say this is a class issue. This shows why, billionaires and millionaires that have so much money are an issue, and why we need to actually move the conversation back to what the American people need and something along those lines. But I think it's best, like Pasta said, that you didn't say anything. She didn't have to give her opinion on that. That's the whole point. Yeah. She didn't really, because these public figures, they're not going to change their mind unless there's a whole movement to do that, and that's why we're here. We're pushing this movement now.
Yeah, I understand it. And I saw some comments, saying it was Ellen's comments, were nice and stuff, but it was it was again glorifying a warmonger.
Yeah.
I want to see a politician just flat out come out and say, I want to put these people on trial for the war criminals. Like, would you guys want to see that?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
That would be amazing.
But that's the
will
thing,
that ever happen?
No,
Has that ever happened?
It will
like,
if we have this. If we, the whole thing about it is that right now it's kind of like Donald Trump is that wild card in there, and the whole thing about it is that the Republicans had a ton of emoluments in Iraq. Literally, that Dick Cheney, George Bush, Donald Rumsfeld, all these people, they injected their energy companies in there. They took over these oil fields, and they were dirty as can be. Instead of Obama going in and prosecuting these people, his party did the same thing in Ukraine. They took a destabilized country and jumped in there, and like they said, the carpetbaggers. They went in there and started grabbing all these oil, fracking and oil companies. And that's the thing that's really disgusting, because you talk about, we want a climate debate. Really? You need a climate debate? Adam Schiff. Nancy Pelosi, we're talking about an oil company, Hunter Biden, Burisma, that fracked the hell out of freaking Ukraine, not even using conventional fracking techniques that fracking would be illegal in the United States, Burisma used in Ukraine. So all these people were talking about global warming, and you want a climate change debate? Well, you got your elected officials who went in there and were very nefarious when it came to collecting oil and fracking and polluting the water. And not only that, taking money from the Ukrainian people, because Ukraine is worse off today and more poor and more impoverished than they were in 2014 when we put that friendly government in there. So Charles Pereira says, everybody a friend of Bernie as he's giving in too much to CIA talking points. The heart attack needs to give a better warning shot next time. Charles Pereira.
I don't know what that means. The heart attack needs to be...
Well, he says the heart attack needs to give a better warning shot next time. Like, it should have jolted him. It should have woke him up to stop with these talking points, because he does talk about Russiagate, which is an issue. He does talk about,
I think, once again, he's trying to get these centrist votes, which I think is a mistake, because I think these centrists, a lot of them aren't going to vote for him, period. They're going to vote for Warren, Biden, Buttigieg is another one. They're really not going to vote for him. I think, the idea is to get these independent voters, these people across the aisle. And that's why I think it's again, Tulsi is a great candidate for that, to get these votes and see what happens if she goes all the way to the convention, which she's planning on doing. So I think that's,
Ren Stern. We have a couple more coming in behind us. So Ren Stern says,
Bernie has a dirty shirt on military appropriations. I don't like what he supported in multiple countries, and that's what the hardest ding against him. I think a lot of people feel that way. Again, I think he was consistent overall 40 years in regards to domestic policy, civil rights issues, and that is why I support him. If you are a foreign policy, more strict on foreign policy, then you either support Tulsi or you're a green or you're not, independent. Yeah. I care about foreign policy, but I think the main reason why I support Bernie is because he will be moved on the issue. He listens. He's willing to have people. Tulsi actually was his advisor on foreign policy at one point, and he was doing very well.
Right? In the Senate.
He was doing very well when he was being advised by her. Actually, because she knows what she's talking about. Too. Yeah. And now that she
why don't they just join together?
Exactly. I mean, I think she doesn't have some of the qualities he has, but I also think she has some of them, and he doesn't. And I think together, if they were like one candidate, I would be like, wow, this is an amazing candidate. But I mean, I have issues with both of them, But at the end of the day, the issues that are most resonate with me is why I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, and the reasons that the issues resonate with Pasta is why he supports Tulsi. We do argue on these things. We have differences of opinion. Yeah. Pasta and I do.
And I still like Bernie. I got my Bernie
and I like
shirts
Tulsi,
and I'm ready there.
But I do have, I feel like domestic policy wise, Bernie is here. And I think that's something that's very important to me. Especially right now, given the circumstances.
He has the trust of the people. That's the big thing. He's earned the trust of the people.
Experience, consistency. Yeah. All of these things.
People are still learning about Tulsi.
I still think she has a great career ahead of her. But again, I believe both of them have an inability to sometimes, especially Tulsi, reading the room, and with Bernie, like some of the people that are being hired, he's so focused on policy, so focused on running his campaign, that some of these people that are being hired aren't necessarily the best people. Yeah. And that's just my personal opinion, and the opinion of many others.
Manny says the American Service Member Protection Act, if you want war criminals prosecuted, that must be removed. Otherwise, they will never see the Hague. Is that the right word?
I think so.
What does Hague mean?
I don't know. Like in this context, I'm not exactly sure what he's
So that's a
Like
$5 super chat from Manny.
Thank you, Manny.
Thank you so much. I'll get you back over the way you need to get over,
Okay.
girl. We got to finish this up.
Okay, so the American Serviceman Protection Act. I'm going to look into that.
We are.
Oh, the Hague is the yeah. You're right. No, I thought he meant the word. He meant the legislation.
Ah. Fam, you want to talk about Elizabeth Warren on the contrary.
So, okay, I just want to point out one more thing on Elizabeth Warren, right? Because unlike Bernie Sanders, on the contrary, Elizabeth Warren's actions have shown that she is not genuine and that she just doesn't tweet things, but her actions. So when Bernie Sanders was a democratic socialist, like he still is, when he was fighting for justice and fighting against the crime bill, Elizabeth Warren was actually part of the Federalist Society, a radical right-wing group deeply committed to overturning Roe versus Wade. And she was actually a Republican then, and she was the group's honored guest. So if you have the link here, Johnny, if you can
have the
click
video.
on it.
Yeah, what time?
Just play it for now. And then
I'm also of the bankruptcy half. Notice they want to separate us from the banks as much as possible. I'm reminded every time I think about that of my co-author's son when he was a little tiny boy, explaining to a buddy what his father did. And Jay at the time was practicing bankruptcy law. And he said to the little boy, he said, my father does bankruptcy. And the other little boy said, wow. And he waited a minute. He said, what is that? And the little boy looked back and he said, you know bankruptcy, exploding banks. It works. What I want to talk about today is I want to change the focus a little bit from where Judge Jones started. And that is with I hope, what is not junk science, and that is an empirical observation that I've made from a very young age, and that is simply that failure occurs. It just happens. People do things that they shouldn't, and they make promises to pay you back, and you know what? They don't always follow through on those promises. I learned that when Denise Thomas never paid me back the 7 cents for an orange cup. Still hasn't. In the real world, the question, when we study in law school, I think it's wonderful. Think back on your legal education. Your entire legal education was directed toward the question, with the exception of your class in bankruptcy, if you took one, toward the question of, do we have legal rights? It seems to me that what the rest of the world out there, outside the law school, is directed toward is not so much whether or not you have legal rights, it's whether or not you can get paid. If there's no dispute over those legal rights, will someone pay, or more to the point, at least when we're talking about bankruptcy, can someone pay?
Okay, so she's over there talking about bankruptcy and kind of talking about it from a Republican standing point where, you know, it matters about getting paid back and stuff. She's not at all being the one that's like, well, you know, people are being exploited. People are unable to pay back because of the economic stress that they're having. There's a reason why people go bankrupt. It's not because they want to go bankrupt. It's literally a choice that you do make when you really, you're better off going bankrupt. It's really interesting to see her now, all these years, nearly 20 years later, you know, shifting her point of view and being propped as the anti-banker woman that goes after the big banks and goes after these people. Like, yeah, she's a threat to Wall Street. Like, no one is really going to buy that at this point when more and more stuff keeps coming out. And, you know, oh, and I missed it, Johnny. There's, of course, Emma and Anna were defending. You don't have to pull it up, but I just want to make a comment. Emma and Anna were again defending, who always defend Elizabeth Warren, were over there talking about, you know, Tulsi Gabbard this. But again, I criticize Tulsi Gabbard. Of course, I'm not with what she said. But at the same time, it's completely just so biased to not ever criticize Elizabeth Warren on not only the tweets she has made, but also the legislation she has pushed and the political stances she has voted on. She voted for 2 of Donald Trump's military budgets, to increase Trump's military budgets, to increase defense spending, and to completely ignore that. Because Emma actually said Elizabeth Warren is far more progressive than Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you serious? Even if you don't like Tulsi, even if you hated this tweet, even if you canceled her, even if she did stuff that you don't like, there is no way in hell
that Elizabeth Warren is more progressive than her, just based on the legislation alone.
Do not talk bad about a woman of color. Elizabeth Warren.
I wish I had this tweet by Brianne Joy Gray, who actually said people have been smearing Tulsi, a woman of color, and it hasn't even mattered. Yeah. And I think it's important to point that out. Like, I never even say that about her because it's not something you want to focus on. But at the same time, like, I don't feel like Elizabeth Warren by TYT is hailed to the same standard. There are good things she has done, and we've talked about it on the show, especially in the beginning. But as we have progressed in this election cycle, more and more stuff following the money has come out in regards to Elizabeth Warren. Also, her lack of integrity. And again, what we talked about yesterday, we can't even criticize Elizabeth Warren anymore on the issues that pertain to her integrity and her policy because now we're sexist Bernie bros. And it doesn't matter that I'm a woman of color. I can't even say anything against her because I'm a sexist. And so that kind of dialogue, that tribalism of the left, that like, no, you can't say anything, is what is going to hand Donald Trump this election. You guys have to stop it. You have to stop being reactionary. Look at things from a nuanced perspective, logically, take a moment and then react. Because if we're all going to start reacting emotionally with these hot takes, then we're just going to really not resolve any issues.
Yeah. We have 11 people watching on the CONVO Couch Facebook, and we appreciate that. We have actually 210 watching on our YouTube. But let me say hi, because it is a small, intimate group on the Facebook.
We do love our Facebook fam.
Sarah Williams is there. Sarah Williams, I sent a personal message to you the other day, thanking you. We always see you on the Facebook. Thank you so much for your support. We love you. Rocky Bellinger is there. You know how much love we got for Rocky B. Yeah. We sent you the shirt. You sent us the picture. A big smile. Susan Gillums, thank you so much for joining on in. That is Mikey Ungry, of course, as well on the Facebook. And Rod Stiffington. He says that AOC is playing ball. Oh, my boy, Tom Toth and Victor Kesselman, both from Boca Raton, Florida. Good friends. Tom Toth, we love you. Thank you for watching. Victor Kesselman, the small, intimate group on the Facebook. But now on the YouTube, we have 210 people. And I want to say thank you to everybody who left a super chat today.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. A lot of people who are Patreons, we appreciate it so much. You don't even know. YouTube us just to demonetize every single video we have, just about.
Yeah, they'll probably demonetize this one too.
They demonetize almost everything. They blacklist us. We know that our numbers should be growing because our Facebook and our YouTube real-time live streams have more people than they've ever had before, but yet we're going backwards on subscribers, and we're not the only people having this problem. But I want to say hi to Fred Edward, Happy Kid. We love you. Michael Cruz is still hanging out the whole time. He never leaves us. Tu Leister is there. Where were you, Tu? We were looking for you earlier. A lot of people coming in late today. You guys need to get up on it. You should be just hanging around the house by the computer until the CONVO Couch comes on. Jump on in the middle of the time. Paul BSO Gaming, how are you doing, Paul? We recognize you. Paul? Your Highness, we recognize you as well. Thank you so much. Or was that your first time? That's an interesting one. Free Thinker, brilliant, wonderful. David Harris, always a pleasure, Mr. David Harris. And Basil Peterson said namaste when she came on in. Thank you very much for all you people who left the super chat. And thank you so much to our Patreons. Go on over to our Patreons. The links are down below. Like, share, subscribe. Did we read that one? That was everything we read before.
Yeah.
Thank you for those super chats. A few bucks. Everything helps. And go over to our Rockfin, ROKFIN, the CONVO Couch over there. You want to watch the debates with us? Get over to our Rockfin. It will be free. We want to thank you, fam. We talked about a lot today. We
did. We have a really long show. We're going to clip it up for you guys.
Yes.
Just so you guys can watch segment by segment.
I
know that's something you
the
guys
CONVO Couch.
That's something you guys really ask for, so we do pay attention.
Yeah, somebody asked us at the last rally, said, we love your show. You have our shows. Can you clip them up so we can go share them? And we want you to share them. Like, share, subscribe.
Please subscribe to our channel. We are having issues with YouTube, so make sure you subscribe.
Share.
Click on the bell.
Make sure you're subscribed.
Yes.
So you know when we're coming on.
The $5 super chats, they help. The $2 super chats, they help. But just the fact that you come here, you watch, that helps too. We can't let you know, if you don't have any money to spare, your time that you give us, we really do love and appreciate that. It means a lot to us. We've been doing this show for almost 2 years now, growing. We have kidnapped Johnny, and we haven't let him go. It's like a Peter Lavelle story. He went to Moscow thinking that he was going to just be back in less than a year, and he was there for like 10, 12 years.
Johnny is the heart of the show. Yes. Without him, this show would not.
He really does drive the bus. His attitude, his work, everything he brings to the table is awesome. And we want to thank him for helping us elevate the show. And thank you.
And I know
for being a
people
part
have
of
been
it.
asking Johnny to have more talking time too. So,
Yeah, well,
you know,
his
we'll look
microphone
into
was
it.
on today.
Yeah.
I'm working on something.
He's working on it.
Well, tomorrow we're going to cover some good stuff. Listen, guys, I also want to say this. Go over to our Convo Couch Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's start putting us some stuff out on Twitter. How about tomorrow, fam? We pick the best responses to our Twitter tonight, and we show them on the show.
Yeah.
Let's do
to
that.
To our segment.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll talk. What we'll do is we'll post something up. Fee's always posting stuff up. We'll talk about it tonight.
But that's the thing, though. We're not going to be able to see the live chat replay.
What do you mean?
Because of YouTube.
Oh, but we can look at the comments. So if you have a good
Okay.
comment, just
Yeah.
leave a comment because we're not able to see the live chat replay right now. I don't know why.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah,
We
so-
forgot about that problem. Are they still looking into it? So here's the thing, too. And think about this,
Yeah,
guys.
they're like, yeah, we'll get back to you. It's
Well,
been like
yeah.
5 days.
Why would they want to take down the live chats? Because here's the thing. As we're talking real time, you guys are joining in. You have tons of comments, and you guys are piggybacking. You're giving us information. It's a movement.
Real grassroots organic people, because we're not buying the subscriber thing.
Exactly.
You can buy subscribers.
Just leave
I
Sam
didn't even
Cedar
know
alone.
about that.
Don't make fun of him.
Oh, stop it. He's
Leave
a pain in the-
MSNBC alone. Be nice to them. Be aloha to MSNBC. Oh, who cares if they propagate war?
Yeah, no. That's the thing. No. You can't be nice without holding these people accountable.
Yes.
Sorry, I yelled.
So listen, we got to get out of here. Thank you so much. Go on to our Twitter tonight. Leave some stuff. We will post it and show it on the show as the live show. So therefore, it will at least be documented in the show if we talk about it. And go over to Yo Pasta. I have a Twitter. Fiorella, if you're not on her Twitter, she's
Fiorella,
got
I am.
awesome Twitter.
Fiorella, I am.
Awesome Twitter. And Johnny's got a Twitter too. Get over to his Twitter. He has still a Muhammad Ali video of Tulsi Gabbard knocking down Ryan.
We'll see what video happens next.
Oh my God, he's got the meme of Kamala Harris getting lit, getting smacked.
With the music from
Yeah,
Rick and
from
Morty.
Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty. You know that video and stuff.
that
Johnny,
video
put it up.
was
Let's show the
lit. That
meme real
video
quick.
was
Come on.
lit.
Where's he at?
I don't know.
There he
It
is.
was lit.
Go to tweets and
I love
replies.
it.
Put
I
the,
keep
Bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a
Okay, hold on.
play it.
Sorry if I blew out your
It's
eardrum.
okay. Blew out your eardrums. We're lowering it.
position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Senator Harris.
Does everybody agree with him? Is that what he says? What is it? Everybody feel the same way?
Okay, so we're gonna let you guys go because we've been streaming for long, and I know Jimmy Dore just went on. So
Yeah, everybody's leaving us today.
yeah, it's Jimmy Dore's on. So thank you guys for watching.
For Pasta Jardula,
And Fiorella Isabel.
Johnny Sue on the 1s and 2s.
Combo out.
Thank you.
Peace.
Like, share, subscribe. Rock Finn for the debates
Bye,
next
guys.
Tuesday. Go
Bye.
Tulsi.
Bye.
6 days.
6 days.